Hey kids, this is Chef Jack with another edition of Marvel vs. DC. You all know the rules by now. Englentine and I have divided up every single comic book released by both DC and Marvel, and each week we review those new releases. We give each book a score of 1 to 5 stars, and at the end we average out the points, and the publisher with the best average score is the winner for that week. With all that said, let's get this party started. The 1-star books. These are the worst. Not merely bad, but awful and horrendous. Avoid them at all costs. Cyborg number 15. Folks, I'll be honest, I am really coming to hate this title. It is just so utterly lacking in originality. It relies on overused plot devices and cliches, and it's just becoming tiring to read. In this issue, Cyborg and his friends, they've been transported to an alternate reality where Earth has fallen to a Skynet-like enemy dominated by mechanical zombies. This is an okay basis for an adventure, I admit. I mean, it worked for the Terminator movies, but, you know, instead what we're given is a boring flashback, a beginning hook that isn't clever, nor is it interesting, and then the rest of it is just a morass of the usual tropes and images that we have come to expect in this kind of situation. It's comic book writing as paint by numbers, and it sucks wind. There is just so much potential in this title, and it is being wasted issue by issue, and it's sad. Spider-Man Deadpool number 20. Another confession, folks. If I hadn't promised my brother that I was going to read all the comics he gave to me to read and review, I'd have skipped this issue. It's of more use as toilet paper than it is a form of entertainment. I mean, hell, I'd go back and reread Cyborg 15 before I read this one. Every issue in this title seems to be worse than the last one, and this one doesn't buck that trend. I mean, it's not to America Chavez levels of horrible, but it's almost there. The art is lackluster, the plot is missing, the characterization might as well be missing, and everything ends with this Deus Ex Machina. This is just a bad issue. You shouldn't read it. Just don't. Leave it alone. Leave it on the shelves. Don't waste your money on it. Go buy a milkshake. The 2-star books. These comics might be bad, but there's usually 1 or 2 things that save them from being truly horrible. Avengers number 10. Oh, Lord, where do I start with this issue? I seriously wonder which genius at Marvel thought that this story was a good idea. It is so thin and flimsy you can see through it if you hold it up to the light, guys. As usual, it over-relies on Deadpool, which is a quick way to kill any comic book outside of Deadpool vs. Punisher, which was actually enjoyable. The characterization, what little there is of it here, makes no goddamn sense. The art is just this side of being this too cartoony. And the best thing about this entire book was Dr. Octopus and the fact that this was basically just a one-shot story. There's no reason to waste your time or your money on this garbage. It wasn't a 1-star, but you know what? It could have been. Hawkeye number 9. I'm not going to lie to you, there were some bright spots in this issue. For one, I loved the fact that somebody actually pointed out that Kate Bishop was, and I quote, the girl Hawkeye, instead of the real Hawkeye, as Marvel's been shoving down our throat. But between you, me, and the walls, everybody on the planet knows that the real Hawkeye is named Clint Barton and has been since the early 60s. The speech she gives to the Thunderdome crowd is also pretty epic, and I'll even admit that the final solution to the Clem problem was clever. But for the most part, this issue was just more of the same crap that we get in every other issue of this miserable title. We have seen this story in just about every action movie that involves people fighting each other. I mean, the art is second grade level at best, and it's almost embarrassing. I am waiting for something decent to happen in this title because I want to like it. I'm a fan of super archers. But this is just so disappointing that I'm close to giving up on it. The Unstoppable Wasp number 8. Let me go ahead and get this part out of the way first. The reason why this got 2 stars instead of 1 is because of the Carl Sagan quote. I believe the world needs more Carl Sagan, so this is me encouraging that. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the issue. You've got to hand it to how Marvel canceled this title because of its shitty sales and then tried to cover for it by saying that it was planned to be a miniseries all along. Bullshit, guys. This is not the first full-length ongoing series that they've done this to, and it's absolutely not going to be the last. As usual, the characterization was horribly inconsistent in this book. The dialogue was cringeworthy. The art was just horrible. I mean, I saw another review of this issue that called this title doomed from the start, and I can't help but think that, that was probably a good thing. I'm glad I'm losing this piece of crap from my review list. It's one more thing to endure. X-Men Gold number 9. This issue leans way too hard on a sense of 90s nostalgia. It brings back a popular one-note villain that I gotta say, I never got why he was popular. We also get the return of a sideline character that nobody's seen in 15 years. And there's also Whiplash. The Iron Man villain. He's only relevant here in that he was the villain of the second Iron Man movie. Otherwise, I don't know why he's there. The plot in this issue is recycled. I mean, hey, look, Congress is about to pass the Mutant Registration... no, wait, it's not the Mutant Registration Act, it's the Mutant Deportation Act. And of course, that bugs me because, any such law in the real world, or in this world, the Marvel Universe for that matter, would be considered unconstitutional. Or at least it would have been before, well, I'm not going to get into politics. Anyway, the cover has nothing to do with what's inside the issue, which I hate. And let's just say the entire issue was crap except for the resparking of the romance between Peter and Kitty, and that was pretty damn cool. The 3-star books. These comics are just average. They fall neither on the good end of the spectrum, nor the bad. All New Guardians of the Galaxy number 7. So in this issue, we learn how Drax went from being the raging destroyer that we're used to being the pacifist struggling to control his violent impulses. This is a quiet character-building story that really should have been more enjoyable than it was. It's not bad per se, but I saw the conclusion of it coming almost as quickly as it had started, and it kind of blew things for me. Just a little. Combined with the slight slip in art quality, and it took this issue from a 4-star to a 3-star. It's a nice middle-of-the-road issue, however. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's also nothing to write home about. Of course, if you're a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fanboy, you're going to go nuts over it, but if you're just a casual reader, you can probably take it or leave it. Darth Vader number 4. This issue depicts the finale of the battle between Darth Vader and Jedi Master Kirak. The problem is that there's absolutely no tension here, absolutely none at all, because we know how it's going to end. We do. We know it. I mean, of course we do. We've already seen the movies. But what we are seeing, however, is the creation of Darth Vader the monster, and that kind of has a little edge to it, but not enough of an edge. The art in this issue, however, is sharp. I like how Dave Curiel's color work melds with Camuncoli's pencils, but otherwise, this issue left me wanting more. And I don't mean wanting more as in the I need to read the next issue right freaking now sense, but in the, oh, okay, I guess that was it sort of way. It's not a poorly executed story, do not get me wrong. There's just not a lot of there. Star Wars Rogue One number 5. Okay, folks, here's the bottom line. If you enjoyed Rogue One as a movie, you're going to like the comic book adaptation. On its own, this is a pretty dependable translation of the story. As a comic book, it doesn't really bring anything new to it. Or at least it doesn't bring much that's new to it. There are a few beats here and there and a few new scenes here and there, but none of them add more than just filler to the story that was included in the final film. And the way I see it, if they weren't included in the final film, they were probably not completely necessary to the story. So if you're one of those gigantic Star Wars fanboys that just has to have every little thing, go ahead, read, enjoy. If you're a more casual fan of Star Wars like me, and you've seen the film and you liked it, but you're not really missing anything else, you can pass on this comic book safely. The 4-star books. Now we're getting to the good stuff. These are the comics we can actually recommend. Iron Fist number 6. Guys, this was another action-packed issue. Ed Brisson and Mike Perkins seem to instinctively understand just how to use Danny Rand as a character, and they know how to create fight scenes that flow naturally. It was also good to see Shang-Chi again, and it's always great watching them team up with each other when they're fighting armies of bad guys. The plot in this issue is fairly straightforward. Somebody wants to kill Danny Rand, and they're using the Seer to bring him down. Along with the previous Lu Shi plotline, I think this shows that Brisson is more interested in making the use of the basics and appreciating the classic stories than he is of tossing in brand new convoluted plots and twisted, confusing dialogue. This issue might as well have been set up for any classic kung fu film. And while it falls a little bit short of the last couple of issues, it's still a really great read. Jessica Jones number 11. This issue deals with the fallout of where we left off back in issue number 10. Jessica met up with Maria Hill's father, whom Maria hadn't actually spoken to in 15 years. Despite that meeting not going so well, Jessica did manage to squeeze some information out of the old man that even Maria Hill didn't know about. There are some really great elements in this issue. I mean, I'm never going to hear the phrase, "pee in this cup" again without laughing. And the entire second act is a comic book within a comic book entitled Maria Hill, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I have to hand it to Bendis. The story shift works like a charm, and there's a part of me that now wants to see a full-time, full-on Maria Hill, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. title. The issue ends in a pretty ambiguous cliffhanger that either could mean something huge, or else it means absolutely nothing. I'm sort of leaning toward nothing, but I'm willing to admit that the former may well be possible. We're going to have to see. Nick Fury number 5. The plot of this issue is fairly straightforward. Nick's sent on a vacation to a sleepy little town where everybody's a professional assassin, and his mission is to kill them all. Now, I'm not that great a fan of the Busman's Holiday plot, and that's why this is a 4-star issue. But otherwise, it's all about seeing how this basic story plays out. The entire series has been one of the greatest sets of spy stories ever told in comic book form, and this issue lives up to it. The dialogue's solid, and I especially love the snarky banter between Fury and his handlers back at S.H.I.E.L.D. The art is just out of this world, folks. And you know how a lot of comics use 2-page spreads? Well, this one actually has a 4-page spread. It's magnificent. It's energetic. It's exciting. Parts of it reminded me of the church scene from The Kingsman. If this title isn't nominated for an Eisner next year, somebody has been bribed to exclude it. The 5-star books. These books are the best of the best, at least for this week. These are the ones that we recommend the most. Deathstroke 22. It seems that Slade Wilson is serious about starting over and being a good guy. His team, Defiance, is still a little rough around the edges, but I have to admit I enjoyed the fact that they weren't a well-oiled machine yet. I mean, they're just starting out, for crying out loud. They're not supposed to work well together, or at least not as well as they will later on. There are still personal issues between them regarding confidence and trust, and Priest did a great job depicting them. I couldn't find a single thing to dislike about this book. I mean, the action scenes didn't flow, but the action scenes weren't supposed to, given the hesitancy and the lack of experienced teamwork among the members. The best scenes, in fact, were the quiet ones where Deathstroke sat down with Dr. Light and the two of them had a heart-to-heart over a cup of coffee. It was brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing how this entire Defiance thing plays out. I'm normally not a real big fan of trying to turn a villain into a hero because it doesn't always work, but this looks like it's off to a great start. Ever After number 12. This is the conclusion of the unsentimental education storyline. It sees our heroes find a solution to the flying goat head problem and the deadly ghost of a spurned lover problem, while simultaneously freeing Plano South Senior High School from the black cube that it's been trapped in. No pun intended, but this story has been magic. It's just been pure magic. And it's the little moments, like the fact that who knows how many thousands of years have passed inside the school while only a couple of hours have passed outside. Or the fact that they used a literal Schrodinger's cat, whose name, by the way, was Irwin, and how he brought down the black wall that surrounded the school. And can you name another comic book that features a weaponized chupacabra? I certainly can't. If you're not reading this comic, I have to ask, why not? You're missing out. Green Lanterns number 28. Let me tell you about the absolute best part of this issue up front. Because she has a functional ring, Simon Baz has been destroyed, Jessica Cruz, the least experienced of the modern era Green Lanterns from Earth, finds herself in charge of the band of new recruits who just happen to be the very first Green Lanterns ever recruited. This issue, folks, is the origin story of the Green Lantern Corps. Everything about it just meshes together perfectly. The writing is spot on. The interaction between the various characters feels real and it feels natural. The art is perfect. But then, I've never had a complaint about the art in the Green Lanterns title. I actually struggled to find anything at all wrong with this issue. I failed spectacularly. This is just a great comic book. Justice League number 26. Most of this issue is spent in a post-apocalyptic dark future with characters who are clearly the children of the current Justice League. The story that we see with these characters is pretty intriguing, and it did make me want to find out how things got to where they were when the issue started. That said, I've read enough Brian Hitch by now to know how his stories work. He'll introduce some really, really neat concept that's exciting and gripping and intriguing, and it's fun for 2 or maybe 3 issues, and then it starts petering out. It starts dropping in quality. Because of this, it's just better to get as much out of the early issues of every story as you can instead of trying to enjoy the story as a whole. This particular issue is the start of the story. It started the Legacy storyline. And whether or not it'll follow the usual Hitch trend is still in the air. But I have to say that this particular issue is fully engaging, it's well written, and it's promising enough to make me want to see the next issue. Savage Things number 6. This series has been balls out, all go, no quit crazy since the first issue, and I have to admit I'm loving every page of it. It's precisely what I want from a Vertigo title, a well-written story for grown-ups that doesn't hold back and is always in high gear, whether it's action or the dialogue or the plot or even the art. I really don't know what more I can say about this book other than it's just plain amazing. Justin Jordan and Ibrahim Mustafa have crafted a truly great comic book here, and it's telling an even greater story, and I hope that they can keep this ball rolling. If you're looking for a really good read, this is it. This issue especially has been fantastic. Shade the Changing Girl number 11. This one really surprised me. It really just came out of nowhere, hit me right in the back of the freaking head. I admit I have not been shy about the fact that I've pretty much hated most of the previous issues of this title. I honestly think that the fact that I found this issue to be both heartwarming and surreal and enjoyable and just wonderful all at the same time, enough to give it a 5-star rating. It just came out of nowhere. I mean, it shocked me, to be honest. But in the end, when I looked at how I reacted to this issue, I had to be honest. It was a great read. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The plot veers from poetic meditation on life at one moment to a soap opera at another moment, and what happens in between is fun and it's mind-blowing. The visuals in this issue are just beautiful, and it's all about what it means to be human, but it doesn't preach, and it doesn't dictate, and it doesn't shame, and I thought it was pretty damn cool, especially for a series that I normally can't stand. So yeah, there it is. The Vision, Director's Cut number 3. I read this issue, and my first reaction was, holy shit. And then I read it again, and yeah, I actually said holy shit the second time. I didn't get to read this storyline back when it was first released in 2016, but the Director's Cut's been one of the most entertaining comics I have read in a long time. It is just too bad that the rest of Marvel can't follow the lead of this. Why are they doing crap books when they're also capable of pumping this out? Why? Why? Somebody tell me why. The strength of this issue is the Vision's inner monologue, talking about how, he's personally saved the world so many times. Why isn't he appreciated? Why is humanity so ungrateful? Why can't they just let him live? It's this type of story that makes you uncomfortable, but in a good way. It's brilliantly executed, and it's one of the few, very few gems available from Marvel these days. And now to round things up. Marvel Comics this week had 1 1-star book, 4 2-star books, 3 3-star books, 3 4-star books, and 1 5-star book. This gives them a total score of 35 points. I reviewed 12 titles this week, which makes Marvel's average score 2.92. DC Comics, on the other hand, had 1 1-star book, no 2-star books, 3-star books, or 4-star books, and 6 5-star books. That gives them a total score of 31 points. I reviewed 7 DC titles, which makes their average score 4.43. As usual, DC wins again. Will Marvel ever pull itself up out of the muck and take another victory? I don't know. I actually want them to, but who knows? It doesn't look good. But folks, what did you think about these comics? Was I right? Was I wrong? Was I, just completely full of it? Tell me why you think so in the comments below. If you like this video and you want to see more of them, click like and subscribe and the little notification bell in the corner so you don't miss any of our future videos. And if you feel like helping out, we've got a Patreon page and a VidMe page set up, and there are links below. Feel free to wander over and drop $1 in the till. But even if you don't do that, thanks for taking the time out to watch. We do appreciate it, and we hope to catch you next time. Thank you very, very much for watching.